to stay in the bargain bin, if you will, for quarterbacks. The Patriots have had discussions about trading quarterback Joe Milton. Would like to trade him to the right situation to continue his development in the NFL. Should a deal get done? New England loves Milton, but Drake May is their franchise quarterback. They just signed Josh Dobbs' 2-year, $8 million backup. That one from Jordan Schultz. It's important to draw some connections. Mike Vrabel was here. He is now the head coach at the Patriots with a considerable voice in that. Milton's an intriguing guy. I know the Browns were intrigued by him when he came out. He played really well in the last game, the game that I did watch that game. So what are your thoughts about Milton?
It's fascinating because if this was like the early 2000s, Joe Milton probably would have already been flipped for like a second round draft pick. This was the days where anybody that showed anything was getting immediately traded for because it was so hard to find, starting caliber quarterbacks. So you had these weird deals for guys like AJ Feely and Kevin Cobb and, players like that who had just shown a game or two of impressive play. And immediately teams were like, we got to go and grab that guy because we don't know when the next viable quarterback is going to come around. Now it's so much easier to find viable. Maybe it's still as hard to find elite quarterbacks, but teams are no longer so desperate for just any form of starter that they're making those types of trades. But if they were, Joe Milton was spectacular in that game that he played. He was interesting as a draft pick because, incredibly big, athletic, cannon for an arm. Like the tools are there for him to be spectacular. He wasn't necessarily spectacular in college, but then immediately in preseason and in training camp, there were reports that Milton was outperforming Drake May. And this was sort of at the time seen as kind of a way of saying, well, Drake May might be a way away from starting. It might take him some time if he's being outperformed by a guy like Joe Milton and, strap in for a season of Jacoby Brissett. But then as soon as Drake May got into the starting lineup, he actually looked really good. So between the preseason, the training camp reports, and then that game at the end of the season, the new way of looking at those reports might actually be that maybe Joe Milton is significantly better than people were expecting him to be. And that does make him a really intriguing trade target for a team that doesn't have a quarterback or is in a tough spot at quarterback and needs, a kind of cheap alternate angle. And the Browns would be an interesting team for that.